In my heart, I have always been an autumn person. Having a chronic illness that's exacerbated by warm days, I've always found myself drawn to colder climates. Nothing compares to stomping around on crunchy leaves in a pair of Chelsea boots, wearing the cosiest autumn jumper, and drinking an overly sweet and often disappointing flavoured latte. This year, however, I found myself longing for the summer to stick around just a little while longer, and looking to cosy season with just a hint of sadness. Perhaps it's because it seemed so fleeting this year, the rainiest summer I can remember. Last week I enjoyed what appears to have been the last day of summer in calendar. It was a day of simple pleasures, eating an apple custard strudel by the stream, enjoying the chill of the loch as I switched off my brain and just swam, and savouring every moment of a gloriously green forest walk. It was the perfect day, which truly felt on the cusp of seasons. The rolling pine mist, low golden sun and crisp breath of an autumn morning, making way for one last afternoon of basking in the sun and nourishing my body with the vitamin D that will become so elusive over the next 6 months here in Scotland. Hello, it's now the 17th of September, it's a Sunday, and my partner's just taken my son out shopping with him, so I have a couple of minutes to just sit and do a reading update. It's quite aggressively autumn now, I feel. I think in Scotland in particular, what I've noticed since living here is that autumn just seems to happen one morning. It'll just be like a lot colder than it has been, and the weather will turn, and yeah, just all signs of summer just disappear overnight, it seems. But I'm not complaining too much. I'm wearing my huge yoga jumper despite having absolutely no intention of doing any yoga anytime soon, but it's really comfy, and yeah, I'm just having a really cozy day. I've put the fairy lights on downstairs and the candles and put the lanterns on, and it's just really cozy. It's so dark outside as well. You can't really tell too much because I've got the curtains closed. I always have them closed when I film because it's too like the light from the window is too bright, and this is just the easiest place for me to set up and film. So yeah, now that I've rambled, I'll get into my reading update. I think the first one I'm going to talk about is this one. It's Mouthful of Birds by Samanta Schweblin. This is translated from Spanish by, I think, McDowell. But yeah, it's quite hard to find. I think it's McDowell. I can't see it in here at all. It must be in here. Yeah, McDowell. And this is a collection of short stories from the author who wrote, what's it called? Little Eyes, which is a book I read a couple of years ago, and I really liked that. That was kind of like Black Mirror-esque story about people welcoming Kentuckis into their homes, so those little cute little robot-y type figures that are shaped like animals, and you can either use them to sort of spy into somebody else's life, or somebody can spy into your life, and the two people sort of never meet. Sort of just a bit dark and weird. This, like I said, is a collection of short stories, and it's very, I think, I'd say very South American, in the sense that I don't really know a lot about South American literature, but in terms of what has been translated into English, I think there's a very sort of specific style and genre that's quite popular in English translation. It seems to get picked up quite a lot, and it's, like I said, with Little Eyes, like a kind of Black Mirror-esque, dark, quite surreal stories that are sort of grounded in reality but have a very unsettling thing happening in them, and you can't truly place whether it's reality or fantasy some of the time. I'm enjoying this well enough. I think it's quite similar, like if you like Marianne Enriquez and The Dangers of Smoking in Bed in particular, I think you probably like this. I really enjoyed the first story called Headlights, and I also liked Mouthful of Birds as well. It was a really kind of gruesome tale. I don't want to give too much about the stories away because they're all very short. I haven't finished it yet. I'm about this far through, and yeah, I'm enjoying it well enough. I think a lot of the stories are quite forgettable, and some I have really enjoyed, but it seems to be, I guess, losing its impact a little bit as I go on. Like the first story was really creepy and unsettling, but then once I kind of got used to the style, it was just like the rest of them are sort of falling a little bit flat. So I'm enjoying it, and I would recommend, if you like quite dark, surreal short story collections. In general, I'm not a huge short story fan, but yeah, I'm liking it well enough. The next book, well, that's my physical book that I've got on the go. I'm listening to an audiobook. I'm listening to The List by Yomi Adegoke. This is really hyped up at the moment, and yeah, I just wanted to see what all the hype was about, because I've seen some really good things and also some really negative things as well. I don't want to say too much about this because it's a thriller. It's quite similar to Yellowface in the kind of thriller that it is, I suppose. It's not a thriller in the sense that you've got like a crime that's been committed and you're trying to find out who's done it. That kind of thriller. It's, yeah, more of a literary thriller. It's very accessibly written. It's a contemporary following two characters, Michael and Ola, and they are British, I think they're both British Nigerian, and they're about to get married, and they seem to have this very like perfect relationship. People online treat them kind of as like celebrities, and Ola's got this job as a writer at a famous feminist magazine, and Michael has just started a new role at another, I think, magazine, like a culture type online magazine, and yeah, they seem to be very happy. They're getting prepared for their wedding, and something called The List drops, which is, somebody posts on Twitter that there is a list of men within the entertainment and showbiz industry who are abusive, and Ola's fiance Michael is on that list, and we're just sort of dealing with the aftermath of that. I will say I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a really easy read. It's a good one to listen to. I think the narrator does a really good job of it. I don't like the character of Michael that much, which I don't think you're supposed to. But yeah, I'm not really rooting for him. And so far it's kind of, I don't know if this is how it will play out for the whole book, but we're really following a man who has been wrongly accused of not necessarily sexual assault, but harassment and physical abuse as well, or physical assault more than abuse. I think is what he's named on this list for, and I'm kind of feeling a bit like off about it. I don't think we really need to read about a man being falsely accused, but I mean, that's just me. It might not play out like that, but we're just following Michael trying to clear his name and Ola sort of deciding what she's going to do, because she is very much she's very much always been involved in feminism, and she was responsible for writing a piece that exposed a lot of abusers within the music industry a few years prior to what's happened, so she doesn't want to be seen as a hypocrite. Also, she's finding it really hard to believe that Michael would do these things. So yeah, it's interesting. It's a little bit on the nose at times, I think, like Yellowface was as well. It's a little bit surface level, I suppose, but that doesn't particularly bother me. It is what it is, and that's fine. It's not claiming to be like this huge like expose on all these issues. I think there's some characters in it that are really funny. I particularly like Ola's friend Ruth, and just yeah, the way the narrator does the voices and everything is just really good. But I also like the way there's a white character in the book called Frankie who likes to think of herself as like really sort of woke and like a great ally, and like she means really well, but yeah, she's just like a very typical white person, and I think she's done so well. I think she's really funny at times. Like there's a lot of like microaggressions that Ola has to deal with because of the way Frankie is, but overall you're sort of like encouraged to sort of laugh at her, I guess, because she is just like a really ridiculous character. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and so far I think it's doing exactly what it's out to do, and I'm enjoying it for what it is. And then finally, I'm about halfway through Penance by Eliza Clark. Just been anticipating this so much this year. It finally came in at the library, so I'm reading this on ebook. This follows, it's hard to explain it. It's a story within a story, so we're essentially reading within the book a fictionalized account of murders that happened. So a teenage girl was brutally murdered by 3 of her peers, and this guy who's had sort of moderate success with true crime books in the past has decided to pick up this story that's kind of it didn't get a lot of media attention at the time because it happened on the night of the Brexit referendum, and he hears about it on a podcast and decides that he's going to write his own true crime book about it. And from the very outset we know that it's kind of dogged in controversy, and then yeah, we're just reading him sort of telling the story. I will say I think Eliza Clark is a brilliant writer. I think she does different voices really well, so when you're reading this true crime story, even though it's well written, you don't get Eliza Clark's voice from it. You really do feel like you're reading from the perspective of this fictionalized author, and I think it's really well done. I think Eliza Clark captures zeitgeist really well. I think she does place really well, and yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's not really what I expected. It's we're not really following sort of the crime itself. We're just getting a lot of background, so far at least, into all of the girls involved and sort of the aftermath of what happened. It's really talking a lot about the nature of true crime as entertainment, and I like that angle that she's taking with that, and just the sort of morality and ethics of doing that. It speaks a lot about just how awful teenage girls can be, and I think the characters are all very cruel to each other, and it's just very believable as somebody who grew up as a teenage girl in a British high school. I thought, yeah, she really captured teenage as well. I think a lot of the time writers don't write teenagers particularly well when they're not teenagers themselves, but I think, yeah, she's done a really good job of capturing sort of the trauma. I always say it's very traumatic growing up and being a teenager, and I think she captures that trauma really well. It's also dealing with like the rise of fascism within the UK. Like, one of the murderers, her father is a prominent UKIP MP. Sort of, you get the vibe that he's like a Nigel Farage kind of character, and I think, like the list, I would criticise it a little bit for being a bit on the nose. Like, one of this MP's friends is a guy called Vance Diamond, who's been he's like a prolific sex offender, and he was basically enabled by the UK media to continue this legacy of abuse against vulnerable people, and by being, you know, involved with a lot of charities and being an ambassador for lots of charities, he managed to get away with this. It was kind of revealed after he died, and that he was this horrendous sexual abuser, and it's very clear that he's meant to be like a Jimmy Savile kind of character, and I just, yeah, I don't know, I just wasn't sure about that, because it's just, yeah, it was a bit on the nose. It might go somewhere, and I might think it's really well done, but at the moment that's just kind of a bit odd to me, I suppose. But maybe I'll find out where that goes. But yeah, that's all that I'm reading at the moment. Just 3 books on the go, and I'm gonna go downstairs and start my tidying before my 2 wonderful boys come home and just decide to start causing carnage again. And yeah, it's really a day where I just want to sit on the sofa, read, and eat cheesy crumpets. So I think that's what I'm going to do, you know. I will catch you in the next update. Hello, welcome back to my final reading update for this vlog. I have finished reading The List and I finished reading Penance. I think with Mouthful of Birds I'm gonna take it a bit more slowly, so I think I was just trying to barrel through it because I wanted to get an update for the vlog, and I just wasn't enjoying doing that with it being short stories. So yeah, I'm gonna update you on that another time. But yeah, I guess I'll start with Penance. That was the first one that I finished, and I liked this. I thought it was good. I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as Boy Parts, although I think that's kind of an unproductive comment because they're 2 different books. I think I liked the ideas in this book, but didn't necessarily like the execution of it. My main, I don't want to say criticism because it's all personal preference. I didn't necessarily like the voice of Alex Corelli, who's the fictional author telling you this story. I think Eliza Clark's really good, like I said, at writing in different styles, but yeah, Alex Corelli wasn't necessarily for me, and I think you're kind of supposed to take his narrative with a grain of salt, but yeah, I found it quite difficult to get through the book at some points. It was kind of starting to drag a little bit for me. So yeah, it's not that I didn't like it. I think it had really good stuff to say about the nature of true crime as a genre and just of entertainment. I think the character of Alex Corelli was really good at illustrating that. He's just the epitome of the unreliable narrator, and you know going in that a lot of what is included in the novel Penance is a fabrication, but you do kind of get sucked into the story and you do kind of find yourself just taking it at face value. So I think that was well done, just wasn't necessarily that enjoyable to read. I also like the way it sort of interrogates who gets to tell these stories and whether these stories should be being told. I think Alex Corelli as a character acknowledges the ethical implications of true crime as a genre, but he stops short of interrogating his own role within that and thinks that because he's kind of enlightened and he understands and he is doing what he thinks is the right thing and wants to give these characters and these people he wants to give them their own words and let them tell the story in their own words, but yeah, he's still really ethically dubious as a character, and he's using tactics, like very aggressive tactics, to get people to talk and to get people to sort of tell the story in their own words, like they feel threatened by him and they want him to go away, and that's kind of why they agree to talk about him. So yeah, he's very manipulative as a character and as a narrator. I think Eliza Clark did a really good job of interrogating the people who tell these true crime stories and sort of looking into what goes unsaid as well as sort of what they choose to tell us in their books and the way they present these people involved with the crimes. So yeah, I think it was a really ambitious book, and I think it was successful. I just didn't necessarily enjoy the reading experience for a lot of the book, but that's kind of on me, you know. So that was Penance. The list I felt kind of similarly about, but for the opposite reason. I really enjoyed reading the list. I thought it was really well narrated. I do think maybe I wouldn't have got so much out of it if I had read it rather than listen to it on audio. I really liked the way the actors did the audio, so I think it was just lacking a lot of nuance that really needed to be there when you're talking about false allegations. So yeah, overall I just had the opposite problem with the books. I really enjoyed the reading experience of the list and thought it was very compelling, but I didn't necessarily think it was particularly well executed in what it set out to do. And with Penance, I didn't necessarily enjoy the execution so much, but I did think it was really successful in what it set out to accomplish. So very different reading experiences, and yeah, I liked them both. I think the list in particular was, like I said, I really consumed it quickly and enjoyed the reading experience, but I think it could have been it could have been great and it could have been really well done, but I think it just fell a bit flat for me. And like I said, I think it needed a lot more nuance than it gave. But I think, yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's not a book that I would not recommend. So that's all the reading that I've done in this vlog. I'm gonna leave the vlog there because I have some other vlogs that I want to film and other books that I want to read. But thank you very much for watching, and let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them. And yeah, would really like to chat to you in the comments about them, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.